Toronto is one of the most desirable cities in Canada. It's the country's business capital, home to some of the best universities, restaurants, nightlife, and career opportunities. But it's also become a symbol of the rising cost of living. For many Canadians, the real question now isn't whether Toronto is exciting or full of opportunity. It's whether living here is even financially realistic anymore. Today, we're going to break down exactly how much it costs to live alone in Toronto in 2025. Not a luxury lifestyle, not influencer aesthetics, just the real, grounded numbers for rent, utilities, food, transportation, and the basic costs of existing in this city. By the end of this video, you'll have a clear idea of what your monthly life would look like here, and the income you would need to maintain it without going into debt. The largest cost, by far, is rent. In Toronto, where you live and what you choose to rent will define almost everything else about your financial life. Over the past few years, rental prices have climbed steadily, driven by population growth, limited housing supply, and increased demand from students and new immigrants. By 2025, the average cost of a one-bedroom apartment in Toronto sits at around $2,100 to $2,400 per month. In more central neighborhoods, such as downtown, Liberty Village, King West, Queen West, or along Yonge Street, it is extremely common to see one-bedrooms listed at $2,500 a month or more. And if you're looking at new-build high-rise condos, especially those with amenities like gyms, pools, and concierge, it's not unusual to see prices reaching well beyond $2,600. For the sake of clarity and realism, we'll use $2,200 as a conservative baseline, a modest, reasonably located one-bedroom that isn't outdated, but isn't premium either. If you're planning on living alone in Toronto, rent will likely consume at least half of your take-home income by default. But rent is only the beginning. Utilities are the quiet cost many people underestimate. Heating, cooling, electricity, water, and building fees fluctuate throughout the year, with winter months pushing monthly bills higher. On average, utilities for a one-bedroom apartment in Toronto come out to around $160 to $180 per month. Then there's internet, and unlike many countries where internet is cheap and fast, Canada consistently remains one of the highest cost internet markets in the world. A stable home internet plan will typically cost around $70 a month, sometimes more if you want higher speeds. When you combine utilities and internet, a realistic monthly estimate is around $230 to $250. For someone living alone, that's a meaningful expense layered right on top of rent, and it's unavoidable. Now let's talk groceries and food. Toronto's food prices have been rising steadily alongside nationwide inflation, but the city-specific markup is noticeable. The average single person who cooks at home consistently and avoids frequent takeout can expect to spend around $350 to $400 a month on groceries. But this assumes disciplined shopping habits, choosing cheaper grocery stores, and being intentional about meal planning. If you add occasional coffee shops, weekend meals out, or the convenience of ordering food delivery, which many people in fast-paced cities rely on, food spending climbs quickly. A more realistic monthly food cost for someone living alone and eating normally is around $450 per month. This is not extravagant, this is simply living. Transportation is another factor that changes depending on lifestyle, work location, and whether you own a car. Toronto has a transit-based downtown core, and many people rely on the TTC. A monthly transit pass currently costs around $150 to $160, but most people supplement transit with occasional Uber or Lyft rides, especially in winter or late at night. So a safe, realistic transportation budget lands around $175. If you drive, however, everything changes dramatically. Insurance in Toronto is among the highest in Canada. Gas, parking, and maintenance add even more. Owning a car can easily push your monthly transportation cost above $500. For this analysis, we'll assume a transit-based lifestyle because it keeps costs more contained and reflects how many young professionals live. Beyond these essentials, there are everyday recurring costs of life. A phone plan, personal care, clothes, cleaning supplies, subscriptions, and social spending. Canada's phone plans are infamously expensive. Most Canadians pay between $60 and $90 for a standard plan. Add in the unavoidable costs of replenishing household items, occasional night outs, coffee runs, and simply participating in normal human life. Even with discipline, this category realistically sits around $200 a month. It's possible to reduce it with strict budgeting, but doing so often comes at the cost of social isolation or reduced quality of life. So we'll keep it honest. When we put everything together, the math becomes clear. Rent at $2,200, utilities and internet at $250, groceries and food at $450, transit and mobility at $175, everyday essentials at $200. The total monthly cost to live in Toronto in 2025 is approximately $3,275 per month. Rounded, that's about $3,300. Over a year, that amounts to roughly $39,000. And that's before saving anything, before emergencies, before travel, before investing, and before even thinking about building long-term financial security. So what income do you need to support this lifestyle without stress? If you earn around $50,000 per year, your take-home pay after tax is likely somewhere in the $37,000 to $40,000 range, depending on deductions. That means almost every dollar of your income goes towards simply sustaining your life, leaving little room to build savings or handle unexpected costs. Real financial breathing room generally starts around $60,000 per year or more. At that income level, you can live alone, manage your monthly expenses, and still have some ability to save or live with less anxiety. What this breakdown shows isn't that Toronto is unlivable. Millions of people live here and love it. But it does show that living alone in Toronto is a decision that requires planning, awareness, and honesty about your financial situation. Some people adapt by living further from downtown, sharing with roommates, working remotely from lower-cost cities, or prioritizing high-income career paths. Others accept that living alone in Toronto is a long-term goal rather than a starting point. The key point is clarity. When you understand the real cost of living, you can make informed decisions that align with your goals rather than being blindsided by expenses after committing. Toronto offers opportunity, but opportunity only matters when it's financially sustainable.